Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Agents of S.h.e.i.l.d. Season 6, Episode 5. It's called The Other Thing. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. And our S.h.i.e.l.d. reviews are brought to you by one of our patrons, Tim Neal. So, thank you to him. Episode, we're back in space. We get to see all that crew again.
Yes. Yeah.
We get a bit.
We got threads this time.
Yeah, we get a bit of everyone, with the exception of Deke.
Yeah, not happy about that. What is interesting is, I thought, there's 3 threads going here, but when you actually look at them, 2 of them are dealing with the exact same topic. They're just different sides of it.
Yes. Also, by the end of the episode, there's some convergence that happens, and we don't have as many split up groups anymore. So we'll get to that.
I mean, I think we do. Kind of.
Well, no, because there was 2 groups in space before. Now there's just 1.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely clear, distinct episodes before where it was
there was the Fitz, and then you're right.
Whereas now it's just going to be Fitz and Simmons and Enoch together.
Yes.
And then everyone else is on Earth, and even May's back coming towards home base at the end of the episode.
That's the plot where May's side of things, and then everyone else on Earth, they're pretty much dealing with the exact same thing. So even though they're very separate in terms of location and a few personal details, they're thematically they're the same plot thread. Yeah,
we'll start with the space stuff. I think we'll talk about So a giant ship appears, which they think is the Confederacy, but it's actually more of Enoch's people. And we meet essentially an ex-girlfriend of Enoch's, which...
Yes, we hear a lot about charging pods and data ports.
Yes. He says the line, "I can't believe I ever, trusted you with my data port," or something to that effect, which... Because before that, I wasn't necessarily getting like ex-lovers or anything like that from it. It wasn't until that conversation where I went, "Oh, wait a minute."
Because it's a little bit frosty and weird, but you just put it down to them being them.
Yeah, did that with everyone. So...
Yeah, exactly. And then she's like, "I can't believe I let you in my charging pod."
So that's the but they get so it turns out to be them, and they're taken captive, and it's like, "Hey, we have Fitz." He's not on the same ship. They sort of just show him as a hologram, but it's like, right, we want you to tell us how you traveled in time because our planet has been destroyed and we want to save it. So
pretty reasonable logic.
That's their goal. And Skye and Simmons are like, "Well, we don't really know how. There was a thing, and it just kind of happened, and blah blah blah." And
it's like, Fitz kind of did it eventually someday.
Yeah, there's some back and forth, but this version of Fitz technically didn't do it. And Enoch, who's very conflicted and is told them multiple times at this point that Fitz is his best friend. In fact, at one point, Simmons is like,
bestie.
Simmons is like, "Well, we're friends too. Like, I mean, you may not know this, but in the future, the version of you that died, like, he sacrificed himself to save us. He helped save humanity. Like, we're friends
and this
too."
is when he learns that they succeeded.
Yeah. And this gives him this cold hard logic of, well, Simmons can be inspiration for Fitz. If Simmons is in danger, then Fitz can pull off anything. And we've seen that in the show repeatedly.
He's not wrong.
And Simmons, they're ready to fight. Skye's ready to throw down, and Simmons is like, "You know what? No, I will come with you willingly, and I will work with Fitz as a partner because we're a team. But you have to let everyone else go and let them go home." And Skye doesn't want to leave her, but she's like, "No, like, I've dragged you across space for a year. You guys go home. I'll be with Fitz, and we'll work something out." And I still expect that we'll have everyone reunited on Earth eventually, but for now, we're going to get Fitz and Simmons together, which is great. So
yeah, it is. A lot of good banter on this, especially between Piper and Davis.
I loved at the start. She's complaining that he got high and destroyed something on the ship, and He comes out, he's like, "Can we turn off Enoch because he's giving me a headache?" And then Piper complains about him shooting something. He's like, "You know what? I misdiagnosed that Piper's the source of the headache. It's Piper."
And there's later on when they're about to be boarded, and they're all lined up with their guns, and Davis says something utterly stupid.
He rhymes.
About shooting aliens.
Yeah, because Enoch says something about... It ends with an own sound, and he goes, "Yeah, and I'm good at putting aliens down," or something like that.
And everyone just looks at him.
It's like, "What? Sorry, I've been in space for a while. All right, let me." And then the other one that I quite liked is when they're getting put in a cell, Piper and Davis. Yeah, Pepper's
He's got a hangover.
sick,
Can we get some water?
He gets cranky, and as soon as they leave, he's like, "Cranky? Yeah, I was being nice. You're a whiny bitch."
I killed.
I need more Piper and Davis hating each other. I need this to be a thing, and I need them.
They're glorious.
And I need them to like burst into a giant kiss with soppy music playing at the end of the season. Now I'm not doing this intentionally, but I'm very much thinking from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm thinking Xander Cordelia. I'm thinking that moment's coming eventually.
Kind of shit, you know, when we know they've both got like families, right? Or at least Davis does.
Does he?
Yeah, he mentioned a wife and kids a couple episodes ago.
Oh, you're right, he did. I'd forgotten about that. Well, we'll hear that he's had a divorce by then.
God's sake.
we'll hear that he's been on the job too much.
They can be terrible friends.
He's been on the... I want the moment where the music goes over the top and they get so angry that they start kissing. I want that scene. I want it, damn it. Anyway, so yeah, all that stuff is great, and that's kind of how it plays out. There's a post titles scene at the end. I think Enoch's got more of a plan than he's letting on, because he comes in and he admits to Fitz what he's kind of said and done, and Fitz gets really angry at him, says he's the worst, and then he's like, what was it he says before he presses his button? He says, something
about being his friend.
Yeah, something about being I'll always consider you my friend.
Yeah.
And then he releases gas into the room, which is knocking out Fitz, and that's where we cut off. But it makes me think that Enoch has been playing his contemporaries the whole time.
It does feel like that, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a plan to get him and Simmons out.
He's learnt something from the poker game.
He's learned how to bluff.
Yeah.
Learned how to bluff.
Yeah.
So
I did actually really like on Enoch. I like the conversation with his ex about when he's like, she's like, you've changed. Earth's made you soft. He's like, yeah, I have changed. I am different. But that's a good thing. That was quite a nice scene.
Enoch.
What?
He said Enoch with a hard K. Enoch.
Enoch.
I mean, I'm overdoing it right now to make my point, but
yeah.
It's a CH, damn it. Look, I'm Scottish, right? I'm going to the hard.
The rest of the world is not doing that.
Sorry?
The rest of the world is not saying it how you are.
Enoch?
No, they're not.
Fitz says.
Fitz is the only one.
But Fitz is the only right one, so.
Well, let's see how Enoch says it, shall we?
He says it. I'm sure he does.
I don't think he does.
Enoch.
I don't think he does say it like that.
That's how you say it, damn it. Everyone else is wrong. So it's not me that's out of touch, it's the children. The children are out of touch. Anyway, so that was that plot. So there are a lot of teasers of Fitz and Simmons, and again, this show moves at such a pace. The plot just keeps going, and we're already at a point now where they get back to Earth. It's a really nice moment when they land at the end, and everyone's like relieved that they're coming back, and obviously we're expecting Mac to be like, "Where's the others?"
Yeah, but the moment with Mac and Sky, that's nice, because it's been so long since we've seen them together. Yeah,
that's really nice. They're all kind of happy. And then new dude from last episode, Lemon Face, he comes round and says, "Oh, May's on her way back. She's captured him." And Sky's like, "Who's him?"
Captured who?
Yeah. And it's like, oh, and I need to hear about this. Yeah, and I'm calling him.
I'm explaining to
Lemon Face for the record is the one who's wearing the lemon shirt last episode.
Yeah, no, I got that.
just for in case anyone was confused by who I was referring to there, it was the dude who was working with Deke.
I loved it early on. He comes up, he goes to give Mac a report. It's like, hey, Deke's sedated. Man, it's actually quiet. I don't know what's going on. Can you even imagine that? Small miracles. And Mac just shoots him this look. And he's like, I'll shut up now.
Yeah, you're a rookie. Don't think we're friends.
Yeah. You don't get to banter like this yet.
Yeah, and Mac tries to comfort Yo-Yo because he knows she's just lost someone, and she's not willing.
She's kind of having none of it.
She kind of gives him the cold shoulder, and obviously she's in a bad place. So you don't necessarily blame her too much, but she's clearly still a little bit resentful for Mac basically ending their relationship because he just wanted to focus on his job as director, and she kind of rubs it in a little bit at the end where she's like, that'll be all director or something like that. She calls him. She calls him director at the end, and it's just it gives us, because we didn't see this part of their relationship, so we've been kind of getting little snippets of like what went down throughout. And this was another little bit of that. But she kind of implicates Dr. What's his face? Benson. So Benson, she's worried about him, and Matt goes to see him, and his hand's a little bit shaky, and he's trying to, investigate the body. And basically, the material of the crystals ends up being very similar to the monoliths, which is interesting because we never really did find out where they came from.
And as they mentioned, there's a third one that we don't even know what it controls. They remind us in this one.
Yeah, we got space and time. I don't know what the third one is.
Yeah.
Benson theorizes that the creatures might be life and death, which
could
fair.
be.
I mean, a bit of a leap, but sure. And I mean, it was just fine. I like all of this is interesting. He seems to be more into it by the end, where he's like, "Okay, can I get a Quinjet and go and investigate where this was first discovered? To see if I can figure things out about this word that the
they've got that word that's Incan is what they're going on, like from that society.
Yeah, it was like Pichachu or something like that, something to that effect.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, the P. But like
it was a P and it had a Q in there, so I was never going to remember it.
They're looking into that, and that's when obviously they'll come back at the end, is when we get to that point. But there is a nice scene between Yo-Yo and Benson where they kind of like bond a little bit, and she stops mistrusting him just a touch.
Yeah, because she's feeling terrible for having made the hard choice with killing Keller, but obviously she knows that it was the right choice because it was a terrible situation. It was going to go mad and kill everyone, but she still doesn't like that she did it. And he talks about having to turn the life support off on his husband, and how it's only the fact that he knew it was the right thing to do that got him through it in the end.
Yeah, and his
as much as it did when he's clearly had some problems after.
And he says his husband's family hated him for it as well, so he's kind of living with that, like living reminder of it. So yeah, so that was that stuff. Again, sort of ticking up a couple of little character beats for Yo-Yo and Benson's especially. But even Matt got a little bit of chance to shine in this little subplot. But then, of course, the other main plot of the episode is May with Sarge and Snowflake.
Or as she shall henceforth be known, Princess Butterfly.
Which one's Princess Butterfly?
Snowflake.
Why is she known as that now?
Because May calls her that, and I thought that's a better name.
Don't confuse things.
It's not confusing. It's a nickname.
I don't need to deal with more names. So, May, like... we have this thing throughout the episode where May's kind of like floating in and out of what seems to be a memory, right? If the first time she was waking up from this, I was thinking, have they given her something to specifically make her see things or whatever?
Yeah, because she's very clear she's on Tahiti.
Yeah, she's on Tahiti, which again, is very reminiscent of season 1 with Coulson and him remembering Tahiti. But of course, in this case, she's with Coulson, and it appears to be the time they spent together after season 5. But it's like, how accurate is this as to what happened? Is this kind of a weird maligned version that's kind of blurring with present day?
Yeah.
Because if it isn't blurring with present day, then there's some pretty weird implications about this, maybe, where Coulson, from her memory, said very similar things to how this Sarge is speaking.
I think that's intentional. I don't think it is. I think the memory might be accurate because the way she questioned Sarge as to, who about being an imposter. I think she might be onto something. Because Sarge, is like, how do you know? He talks about Coulson, and he's like, he must be. Who is he? Shapeshifter. It must be an imposter of some sort because there's only one me. And but May's like, no, I know Coulson. He was a person. I've seen childhood pictures. I've met parents, whatever, that sort of stuff. And Sarge looks a bit rattled by this. Like, he doesn't want to believe it. And, she says, maybe you're the imposter. Are you sure you know who you are?
Yeah, well, this is kind of where I get into the worrying speculation, is that could this somehow be Coulson? But a Coulson that... because he talks about how he's like 100 years old already because he's been on different planets with different speeds and different,
Yeah.
And he doesn't necessarily remember... like, he does seem rattled by this, and if he doesn't really know where he comes from... and he's saying things that are similar to the way Coulson spoke, like some of the key phrases that he uses in the flashbacks. Like, I don't necessarily like this idea, but it did definitely cross my mind. Like, well, is there going to be some sort of weird twist here where somehow someone in space and time reanimated Coulson and he doesn't remember who he is?
I think would be interesting. Given where we actually go with Sarge in this episode, we learn that he's not like entirely just evil. He's
No,
actually fighting something.
he's cold in the way he does things, but he is hunting down these alien beings.
Shrikes, I believe.
Shrikes was the word, yeah. And he has this initiation thing with May. He's going to try and turn May. And they put May in a room with someone just like Keller from last episode, where he's got the bug inside him, or the Shrike specifically. And it's like, hey, once he starts screaming, you're going to want to stab him with this blade specifically in the chest. Yeah. This is what you want to do. And we get this pretty cool fight scene with May, fighting this dude.
And it's all demony, very possessed.
Yeah, there's stuff coming out of his mouth and all sorts.
Doing the backwards crawling.
Oh yeah, he went full Exorcist at one point.
Yeah.
So she wins the fight, and they come out, oh, I knew you had it in you, and blah blah. And then she's obviously on the truck again. She's got her hands tied, but she's able to like sort of fight back and knock out Snowflake. And we actually get a really cool fight scene with Sarge and her. That's just in the seats at the front of the truck. It's a really impressive little fight scene, given the fact that they're basically just sitting down the entire time. But really, really good. And it begs these interesting questions, because even when she knocks him out, it kind of blurs with a memory of Coulson falling asleep on Tahiti.
Yeah, she puts the arm back up.
Yeah, and I think obviously at the very least it gives, even though she knows this isn't really Coulson, or at least she did believe that before.
It blurs this attachment of okay, because she's got like, I'm going to kill you and it's going to hurt. I don't care that you look like him, but this moment shows that it's getting to her. Yeah,
it's getting to her that he at least looks like Coulson. And because this is the weird thing, if this does turn out to be somehow be Coulson, and he's been alive for all this time, and like he's been like we could actually end up with Coulson for season 7 again if he ends up getting memories back.
Yeah, he could be remembering who he is. A very changed version of Coulson, but wouldn't be totally unlike Fitz.
Sure. And I could be completely wrong here. There was just
enough there.
Yeah. There's enough there to speculate that somehow this could be Coulson, even though, presumably she saw a body. She saw him die. Or
yeah, because across all these universes, we were talking multiverse, and that doesn't seem quite accurate, because it doesn't seem like there's copies of people, right? There's not like different versions.
Not different versions, and if anything, like I'm beginning to wonder if they even come from different universes. Like because he just keeps saying worlds, and I'm like,
he does.
Is the device that lets them, transition from one planet to the next, is that just a space thing? Is it just traveling through space?
It could well be, yeah.
From another planet. I mean, we kind of leaped. Do you know what I think it is? I think it's because it's the idea that, because back in episode 1, they did mention, it turns out there's a building there. But I guess it's maybe just they had coordinates for Earth, and then it turned out those coordinates had a building on it.
Very possibly.
Because I think to us, we leaped at, on their Earth, there's no building there.
Yeah. In my defense, I think there was a lot pointing towards multiverse up until this point, and it's only in this episode that I'm questioning it now.
Yeah, so that's interesting. It's interesting stuff, and because I think part of me really just wants Coulson to be dead, not because I don't like Coulson, but because I just like the death to stick.
No, I get that. But I mean, it would be so Coulson to just come back again.
I mean, if he does end up actually being Coulson, and he's been living, like, he got his memory erased, he thinks he is who this Sarge is, and he has been doing this for 100 years. Like, that wasn't a lie necessarily. He has actually been doing this for a long time.
I think that was true.
Yeah.
And, because it's the thing, like, he's not the villain that we thought he was from, the first few episodes. He's trying to stop something bigger, and let's say, he's got really shitty methods, and he's willing to just sacrifice, however many worlds he has to.
Yeah, there was that one line though before where it was implied that they would be the ones hurting the world in some capacity. Remember, the other guy was like, "Oh, can we not just soak this in before all goes to shit?"
There was this here. It seemed to be like when it arrives, he's going to kill this world and that and kill that with it. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's a creator behind the Shrikes that he's kind of hunting. That's kind of the end goal. And eventually he will come, or she will come, and they'll try and kill it. But it doesn't necessarily look to me that he's been the one who's been destroying the world. It sounds like when we saw that glimpse of them destroying the world before, like it almost seems to me now that it might have just been the Shrikes that were destroying the world, because it'd become a planet of so many Shrikes that it was just time to evacuate.
Could be, yeah, or maybe that was an attempt to when it came there, we'll kill it along with the world that it's on.
Well,
And
why do you keep
it
saying
didn't
along
work.
with the world that it's on, though? What's
Because I'm
making you
sure
think
that's
that?
what he said in this. He said, when it comes here, we'll kill the world with it. Like, I'm sure along those lines. I'm sure.
Okay, I didn't notice that particular part of the line, but
Okay, maybe I'm
because you
misremembering.
said it 3 times there, and I'm like, why are you so hell bent
Because
in this?
I'm in my memory that is there. And maybe
Because
I've
to me,
imagined this
this
now.
episode was hinting to me that they're not destroying worlds. That the worlds are being destroyed, but it's not them that are doing it. Um, and
No, I'm with you.
or maybe so much that they only destroyed that world that we saw before because it had become so overrun with strikes that there was no saving it. There was no point in.
Could be, yeah.
But that said, though, that one line of dialogue from that previous episode did imply that they would have something to do with the world being destroyed.
It did, yes.
So, I'm not sure where I'm standing on that right now, but this one certainly gave me a different impression.
Further evidence needed.
Further evidence needed, yes. I'm a scientist, damn it. Right?
Yeah, you wish.
I'm a scientist. I look at the evidence. I deduce.
Sure you do.
I deduce. I'll deduce all over your face. Anyway.
Yeah, you can try.
So, yeah, that was that plot.
Which very good.
Which means that's the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like the May plot and the other Earth stuff. Obviously, there was differences in terms of the character stuff, but a lot of it was just learning about the Shrikes, what they are, kind of getting that sort of information. It felt like they were two angles of the same thematic plot thread.
Well, no, I mean the big thing we learned about them is that they're connected to the monoliths in some way.
Yeah,
that is the big thing, which is interesting because so much of this season feels like, okay, we kind of finished what the show needed to do last season, and this season's kind of a bonus season. But it's kind of nice that the main villain in this is actually connecting back to something that we've had since season 3. Because that first monolith, hell, actually, even end of season 2, because Simmons gets sucked into it, so we've had a monolith since season 2.
Yeah, it's been such a staple of the show that we kind of even stopped questioning them, didn't we?
Well, that was the thing. It's like we didn't really need answers. It was happy to just be a mystery. Like, if the show had ended without answering that, no, I don't think any of us would be like that fussed about it.
It would always be a question. Oh, I wonder what they were, right? But it was never something that I was necessarily expecting.
It was never something that detracted from the show. But it's nice that in this season we're getting like, okay, we're going to actually explore the monoliths a little bit and find out where do they come from in some capacity, and the idea that they're connected to these Shrikes, which there's this team like jumping from world to world hunting the people or the beings connected to these things. Very interesting. And it does make me wonder though, let's just wrap this all around in a theory here. If we're talking about how Coulson could be alive and not have his memories but be this different version, be Sarge, right?
Yeah.
The third monolith. Time, space, third one does whatever's happened to Coulson.
Potentially, yeah.
Is it time, space, reality?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, maybe Ben's was on something with life and death. That's how it's reanimated him. But maybe it reanimates him without the memories.
Well, he was talking about the creatures. He wasn't talking about the monolith.
He was, but I'm wondering if maybe they're linked to the third monolith specifically, for all we know.
It sounded like they were related to all of them from the way they were talking. Yeah. But that would be my guess. If it does turn out to really be Coulson, my guess would be that the third monolith is the culprit.
Yes, but who's using it?
Yeah, well, I assume whoever's controlling the Shrikes maybe created them. Something ancient. Whoever this is, they're old. I'm going to say that right now.
Yeah, definitely.
So someone bigger than Thanos. I'll say it right now.
Yeah, that's because S.h.i.e.L.D.'s better anyway.
That's my guess. I think this season we'll find out what that third monolith does, and I think it's related to whoever Sarge is, one way or another.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
That's my guess
So
right now.
I lie about this, because we said a lot, this is how we've really missed S.h.i.E.L.D. We've talked to a few earlier episodes how we miss like network shows of this style.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice being able to theorize on a weekly show like this. It's not often we get to do that anymore. It's often Netflix shows or Amazon shows or whatever. But it feels a while since we've had like a weekly show where we get this sort of.
Well, I mean
what theories?
That's what HBO, AMC, and who's the other one?
Yeah, no.
USA. I'm missing the robot. That was what I was thinking.
Yeah, but it feels like we don't get enough of that anymore. And so it feels like, at least for us specifically, it feels like it's been a while.
Yeah. Oh, that's been, we've had a weird drought of shows like that for a few months.
Yeah.
But that is Shield episode 5. So you can let us know what you thought in the comments below of the episode. You can like and subscribe, all the usual stuff. You can go to Patreon, as we mentioned. These series of Shield reviews is brought to you by Tim Neal, one of our patrons. You can go and sponsor things on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, or you can just support us for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses, some extras, some stuff early, that kind of thing. And of course, rating us on your iTunes or your podcast app of choice. It helps share out the show, and of course, just share out the show on Twitters or your Facebooks, your social medias, whatever is convenient. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?